countries assisting Iran seems similar to when Russia was taken off the dollar in 2022. What is different now to start the start of the special military operation? What is different now to the start of the special military operation? Scott Bessent's Barbie.
It's very simple. The special military operation was under the Biden administration and under a British flag. What Scott Bessent is doing is attacking the British flag. If you actually look at the Middle East, as I've said very often, and you look at the history of those countries, you could put a British flag over all of them, starting with the Sykes-Picot Agreement. Iran remains the key obstacle to upending all of that crap and having our oil prices and our gas prices and our commodity prices set in a damn house in London somewhere rather than based on actual production in the United States. That's what this is really all about. People get all sidetracked about Israel, about this, that, and the other, without ever recognizing what's the history of this entire area. Why did they actually keep it in a religious war for this long? And the reason is really simple. If I can basically create an ant jar of black and red ants and shake it up every so often, and I'm sitting on top of the jar by setting the prices and everything else, I control the area. And they have. Now what's happened under Trump, as opposed to anything else we've ever seen, is all of those countries, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, despite the differences between them, Turkey, all of these countries, which have been under some form of long-standing British operation, are now not putting their money into the City of London. They're putting it they're investing it in the United States for actual production in the United States. So it's a very, very different operation. And what we're trying to do, if you look at what we've said about where Iran's money was parked, for the most part, it was in the City of London. The Ayatollah owned vast amounts of London real estate. The IRGC owned vast amounts of London real estate. What the hell was that about? Why would Britain actually join the war? Why wouldn't, basically it's not something which is truly about the Middle East in the old way, or as, basically Biden started this awful war in Ukraine. And that was deliberate because they have this fantasy that they can actually take over Russia, and that's the key to taking over all of Eurasia, which has been the British dream for centuries, the British Empire's dream for centuries, really, when you look at it. So that's the difference. It's a long explanation, I realize, but I thought I had to tell you sort of what the difference is. In short order, Biden was a British flag operation, and starting that special, provoking Russia into the war was a British operation. Here, what we're trying to do is we're attacking the entire apparatus itself.